During this demonstration, we're going to deploy the entire Hadoop ecosystem onto a Client 01. We need to be very detail-oriented, as there are a large number of variances in our build script. Our intended end state is to have every type of Hadoop client and web console running on Client 01. This begins with Flume and Scoop, and then we want to ensure that the Hadoop command, HDFS command, and the Yarn command are all running. We're going to deploy the Hive suite, which includes Hive itself, as well as the Hive Metastore and the Hive Server 2. On top of these, we'll then deploy Hive HCatalog and Hive Web HCat. Lastly, we'll install Oozie and Hue. Quite a list. The first thing we'll do is secure copy our build script onto Client 01. Let's follow it over. Now, let's take a very careful, methodical review of our build script. First, we have a couple of variables that we set for our convenience. Our first function is a testing function to ensure that we are running this as root. Our next function is an intro function that checks that we've run the build-based server as well as the build MySQL script ahead of this script. We're going to install the repo from Cloudera. We download it using curl, and then we move this file into etc.yum.repos.d. Our first install function is install HTTPFS. We use yum to install it, and then we're going to create some administrative directories in our home directory to make life easy on ourselves. The next function is install Flume. After we install Flume, we're going to configure some administrative directories. Please note, Flume is not a background running process. Therefore, we will not install the normal log, var, and run. What we will do is create a directory for our agents, a directory for our checkpoint, which we'll use for file channel, as well as a local log directory. Our next function is install Scoop. We'll install Scoop, and then we're going to put in the all-important JDBC connector. We'll link it into user lib scoop lib. We'll then create a couple of directories in our home directory for administrative purposes. Now, one of our important install functions is install Hive. We're going to install Hive, Hive Metastore, and Hive Server 2 all at the same time. Again, one of the things that we want to check after the installation is that we successfully have put in our JDBC jar. In this case, we're going to link it into user lib hive lib. Now, one of the important variances, Hive Server 2 needs to identify the local version of MapReduce. We'll do this by exporting Hadoop_MapRed_home and the location to etc default hive-server 2, one of the files that we should check after our installation. And our normal administrative directories. We'll create an administrative directory for Hive, and then we'll link in conf, log, and run. This is our function, install HCatalog, where we install Hive HCatalog, Hive Web HCat, and Hive Web HCat Server. Notice we need to make a couple unique directories. One is we're going to create a var run Hive HCatalog for ourselves. And then we have a set of administrative directories that we're creating. I want you to notice the difference between the configuration files for Hive HCatalog and Hive Web HCat. We have a directory called etc hive-hcatalog-conf and a directory called etc hive web hcat conf. So we need to install and link to them separately. Here's our install pig function. We install pig. We're going to create a log file for ourselves, and we'll link to that in our administrative directories. Here's our function for install Oozie. We're going to install Oozie and the Oozie client. We will link our JDBC jar to user lib oozie libx. We create our standard administrative directories, and then we do something important. we're going to pull down a file called x-2.2.zip. We're going to reach for this file from Cloudera, though you can find it on a number of different locations on the internet. We move this file into var libuzi. Now note, our installation of CentOS did not download zip and unzip, so we'll use yum to quickly install these two commands. We'll then use unzip on var lib uzi x-2.2.zip. Then we'll clean up after ourselves. Here's our function for install Hue. We install Hue. We again put in the all-important Java JDBC jar. We create our home directories. Finally, we're going to install HDadmin. There's a number of links that we're going to put into place, and this gives us access to MapReduce and to Yarn as well as HDFS. Here's the tail end of this function. Then, as always, we run cleanup, so we're going to remove this script file. And here's our post-build instructions, taking us step by step to ensure that the installation worked. We'll do this in another video. Our last function is to reboot the server. Before we do, I want to load another set of configuration files, and we'll look at a couple things. Here's our function to reboot the server. In this particular task, we'll say no, because I want to load some other configuration files and do a quick review before we do the reboot. And here at last is our main. Let's fire this guy off. As I said, we want to install some other files. Let's jump back to HDOps for a moment. Let's take a quick review of our hdpush.sh script. Here's what I'm looking for, is our function for echo. We'll use this to push all the different configuration files off of our HDOps onto client 01. Let's go ahead and push. First, I'm going to push all the Hadoop conf files. Now let's push all the echo files. Great. We can go back and do some checking now. First, let's check our HDadmin directory. Oh, that's looking good. Let's check a few things. That worked. That worked. Now let us check our log directory in var. That looks good. And our run directory. That looks good as well. Let us check some of the important JDBC jar files. There it is. There it is. Let's check another important set of files that were installed. Here are the init scripts that were loaded by yum. So then, therefore, we should also check this. Great, we've got our Hadoop HTTPFS, Hive Metastore, Hive Server 2, Hive Web HCAT. We also have got Uzi and Hue. Things are looking good. I think it's time for a reboot. There, we've successfully rebooted. We're now ready to proceed forward to configuring and testing various client services. We'll begin with Hive in the next video.